he stood frozen in front of the mirror, staring at his own reflection with disbelief. Just 7 days ago, he was nothing more than a broke college student, barely surviving on instant noodles and borrowed textbooks. But now, he was married to a 71-year-old millionaire woman, and what he discovered in the week that followed shook his soul more than he could have ever imagined. Ethan was 23, the youngest in his class, and also the most desperate. His father had died years ago, leaving his mother ill and bedridden. Every dollar Ethan earned from tutoring kids went to pay for her medicine, the rent, and the little food they could afford. While his classmates dreamed of big careers, Ethan's dream was simple. He just wanted his mom to live without pain. One evening, while searching for part-time jobs online, he stumbled upon a strange post. Companion needed, generous allowance. Long-term possible. Curiosity pushed him to click. It led him to a wealthy, 71-year-old widow named Mrs. Eleanor Bennett, one of the richest women in the state. She had no children, no close family, and lived in a sprawling mansion all alone. At first, Ethan thought it was ridiculous. Why would a woman of her stature want the company of a struggling student? But desperation has a way of silencing doubt. He applied. 2 days later, he was sitting in her mansion, sipping tea served in china worth more than his yearly tuition. Eleanor was graceful despite her age. Her hair, though silver, was perfectly styled. Her eyes were sharp, carrying the weight of decades of experience and loneliness. She spoke with a warmth that surprised Ethan. She didn't want a servant. She didn't want a nurse. She wanted a companion, someone to talk to, someone who would treat her like a person and not a bank account. Within weeks, Eleanor offered something unimaginable. Marriage. The proposal shook Ethan. He was young. She was old. People would laugh, insult, and curse him. But she was clear. I don't have many years left, Ethan. I need someone I can trust to stand beside me. In return, I'll ensure your future, your mother's health, and your dreams. Ethan battled with his conscience. Was it love? No. Was it selfishness? Maybe, but it was also survival. And so, with a trembling heart, he agreed. The wedding was quiet, held in Eleanor's mansion, attended only by her lawyer and a priest. The town buzzed with rumors, mocking headlines, and cruel whispers. Gold digger, they called him. Ethan swallowed the insults silently. But then came the shock 7 days later. On the 7th morning of their marriage, Eleanor handed Ethan a box of old letters and asked him to read them aloud to her. They were written decades ago. Love letters from her late husband. Her eyes watered as Ethan read. She confessed something that broke his heart. I married you not because I needed a husband, but because I wanted to give you what I never could give anyone else a chance. You see, Ethan, money means nothing if it dies with me. But if it can give life to someone like you and your mother, then it finally has meaning. Ethan was stunned. She never intended to bind him forever. Instead, she revealed that she had already signed over part of her fortune to his name, not to trap him, but to free him. You don't owe me your life, Ethan. You owe me your honesty. Live as you wish. But promise me, don't waste the blessing you've been given. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time, he realized this marriage wasn't a curse, nor a scandal. It was a test of his character. Eleanor had seen the hunger in his soul, the struggle in his eyes, and had chosen to give him what life had denied him, a chance at dignity. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan began to see Eleanor differently. He cared for her genuinely, not out of obligation, but out of respect. They laughed together, shared meals, and told stories late into the night. She told him about the empire she built, the betrayals she faced, and the loneliness of being wealthy, but unloved. He told her about his childhood, his mother, his hunger, and his dreams. Somewhere, between the lines of their unusual marriage, grew a bond that neither expected. But fate had its clock ticking. 3 months later, Eleanor's health began to decline rapidly. On her final night, she held Ethan's hand and whispered, "Don't let the world define your worth. Ethan, you were never poor. You were rich in heart. That's why I chose you." With that, she breathed her last. Her funeral was attended by the very people who once mocked Ethan. Reporters, businessmen, and distant relatives all whispered, expecting a young man to flaunt his newfound wealth, but Ethan didn't. Instead, he stood by her grave, promising that he would honor her gift not by living in luxury, but by living with purpose. Years later, Ethan became one of the most respected philanthropists in the country. He used Eleanor's wealth to build schools for the poor, hospitals for the sick, and shelters for the homeless. Whenever someone asked him how he found the strength, he would smile and say, "Because the 71-year-old woman once believed in a poor boy when no one else did, and that, more than any fortune, was the real inheritance she left him." The story of Ethan and Eleanor became a lesson whispered among generations. Love doesn't always come wrapped in youth or beauty. Sometimes comes disguised as kindness, sacrifice, and second chances.